Welcome to Salem Stadium, everybody here in Rochester, New York. Jeff Kassouf with EqualizerSoccer.com and NBC Sports. Dan with Equalizer Soccer as well, and we got Dan Lauletta, and we got Jeff DiVeronica from Rochester Democrat Chronicle, and Rock
Devo.
DNC.
Oh, Rock, yeah, whatever it is. Democrat Chronicle.
Devo's Direct Kicks. Here talking about the National Women's Soccer League final. Portland Thorns FC in town for game against the Western New York Flash, two of the top teams in the league, obviously. But Jeff, we're back here in Rochester, another women's soccer final. This is the Flash's fourth straight final. It's the third straight one in this stadium. There's a culture here now. Can you talk a little bit about what has gone on over these few years with the Flash and what they've really built up here?
I think it started when they became a juggernaut in the W League in 2010, and I think they were undefeated, and they were the Buffalo Flash then, but they just ran the table, and I think then making the leap to WPS was the next step for them. And from, obviously when they signed Christine Sinclair and they went and said, we'll pay Marta, they kind of set the tone for being a team that wanted to win a championship. And I think one thing they've done now is every player that comes in here, they know that unless it's a title, the season isn't a success. And I think that is the culture they've created. That's what Angela Salem, the midfielder, told me a couple days ago, that when you sign with the Flash, you know you got to win or else. And that's what they've done.
Yeah, and the Flash, I mean, they've certainly proven that. This is obviously, like we said, they're going for 4-4. Portland, Dan, we'll get to them in a minute. They're trying to build that culture, but back to the Flash for a second. I mean, 4 titles, 4 years, 4 different leagues, maybe would, if it happens, would speak more to the instability of women's soccer. But I mean, what does that mean if they can accomplish this on Saturday?
Well, I think 2011 it was a good thing because they had moved up. Last season, good thing that they won, but not a good thing they had dropped down a league. And now this year again, they're back where they want to be in a Division I outdoor league, and maybe they win the title again. I only come to Rochester for soccer, so I don't have the same insight as Jeff does over here, but it does feel like this is kind of where soccer titles are decided. I know the Portland fans won't agree with that, and I'm sure they'll have their time, but right now this is the Rochester era for deciding women's soccer championships, and I think it's pretty cool, and I think the city has responded well. There should be a fairly full stadium tomorrow, and it should be noted that when you have a playoff game and then a final in 2 weeks' time that is not on the schedule, those games are not easy to sell.
That's 0 tickets come Monday morning that are sold. So,
so if they get 10,000, I think that's a really good number.
And it doesn't hurt that Alex Morgan is in this game. I think she's been a drawing card all over the league, and I think that has certainly helped. Whether she plays or not, fans are coming here to see her.
And I was going to say, the league got its juggernaut matchup. It's Abby versus Alex. But actually, the first thing that I heard when I pulled into the city, I'm not even kidding, I put the radio on, and there was a Flash commercial that said Abby versus Alex. And it was first name basis too, so I guess the soccer culture here is used to those names already. But brought up Alex Morgan, her health is the number one question right now. She's been training, she's had the knee brace on, but still very sort of, her, Coach Cindy Parlow-Cohn, very non-committal to what exactly we're going to see on Saturday. Jeff, what is the sense that you get of if Morgan will play, how much she would play, and what role she'll play?
Based on, if you have to kind of read the tea leaves a little bit, but based on just body language and the words that are used, even though they say she's probably going to be a full go and 100%, both Christine Sinclair and Morgan alluded to the fact that this team has played some of its best soccer in the last 3 matches without Alex Morgan on the field. And if you're a coach, you're Cindy Parlow-Cohn, how do you change that up? Especially when wouldn't it be great to have Alex Morgan in my hip pocket come halftime if we're down a goal? I don't think you go from 15 minutes available 1 week to 90 minutes available the next week, and you certainly don't start her unless she can go 90. So I think we'll see Alex Morgan start on the bench, and if they need her, they'll certainly use her.
And while you can't coach scared of injury time, you have to remember the possibility this is not 90 minutes, it could be 120. So if I had to guess, I would think she comes in off the bench. I don't think Cohn is the most forward coach when it comes to giving out lineup information and whatnot, so her being a little bit coy about it doesn't tell us a whole lot, but I think she might have played against Kansas City last week. I don't think that game developed in such a manner that they needed to use her. They got lucky, they tied it up midway through the second half, and then they got the lead. I think she would have come in after the first extra time for the last 15 minutes, but they got the lead, and Colin went defense and brought in Tina Ellertson. So I would say 65th, 70th minute or so, we can start to look for Alex.
Yeah, I think 65th, 70th. I wouldn't be surprised to see her come on and score. I think she would be most needed, obviously, if they're down. And with the type of player that she is, I wouldn't be surprised to see her come on late and maybe grab an equalizer if they need one. But
Jeff, I think Tobin Heath's status is almost maybe more important.
Equally important.
I agree.
And she did not train on Thursday. We'll see what happens in the next practice session. But, her and Sinclair have something working, and I think that could be a problem for them. The swelling in that foot, she didn't train at all on Thursday. That's not a good sign.
No. And Tobin Heath, like Jeff said, changed this Portland midfield. I mean, halfway through the season, it's a little hard to say Portland was struggling when you look at the statistics and the standings, but they certainly didn't look cohesive. There was no cohesion. They were lacking in the midfield.
They were getting beat in midfield. They were winning because Sinclair and Morgan could score goals, and they were pretty good in the back. They were getting routed in the midfield in most of their games. So he's got here. And one note about Alex coming off the bench, anytime you have an injured player, say, well, we come off the bench, and that's a great asset off the bench. Not every player can do that. We know Alex Morgan can do it, and she did it for the national team, but she shouldn't have a problem impacting the game if she comes in late and she's healthy.
Could be the return of Alex Morgan time, potentially here at Salem's.
We forget that she played here,
in a different red jersey.
Yeah,
in a different red jersey. So all this said, guys, Morgan's health, Heath's health is questionable. The Flash, I think we pretty much know what we're getting. I mean, Nicole Zerboni seems like she's ready to go, and that was the main injury concern.
Same thing though. Barzik, the rookie, Amy Barzik, has played well the last couple matches, and I don't know. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll start with the rookie and Zerboni on the bench.
Yeah, he could. Yeah. Take all that into consideration. Always the big question. What's our prediction here, Jeff? We'll start with you.
Boy, the Flash haven't lost a match in this building since the opener, and I like their defense. I like the way it's playing. There were some things happening in Kansas City last week in the first 35 minutes, and I was watching it and thinking, boy, the Flash should be rooting for Portland right here because there was a lot of space. Portland's going to need to tighten that up, and the X factor here, I think, is Carly Boyd. I don't care what they say about not being in the first or second team, best 11, all that stuff. She's playing with a point to prove tomorrow. I think some of the Flash players won't admit it publicly, but they have a point to prove that they should have more than 3 people on the top 22 players in this league. I like the Flash winning 2-1.
I like the Flash also. I think if you look at the Thorns last week, great effort by them. Maybe the best single effort of the year by any team, but I thought Allie Long played her best match of the season. I thought Nikki Marshall might have played her best match of the season. Tiffany Weimer played outstanding. Very rare that you carry that over into another game, also on the road. They had to go back home. Now they're back out here in Rochester. I think a lot of things went right for them, and they barely beat a team, Kansas City, that didn't play so well. So I think the Flash are ready for this, and I'll take 2-1. I'll take 2-1 in extra time.
2-1 in extra time. Well, yeah, I mean, my big concern with Portland is actually what back line might show up as well as that midfield, because they had that stretch where they gave up 9 goals in 4 games. They tightened it up with a shutout here, but we know that game was really just a case of tired legs. And then we thought that problem was sort of over, and then last week, I mean, those first 25 minutes, I mean, they looked like, they were just wide open. So
who marks Wambach on restarts too? If someone does that, if it is, say, Allie Long, who's going to check Brittany Taylor, who's been pretty dangerous too on restarts. So I think the size of the back line of Portland could be an issue.
Yeah.
And again, soccer, we're talking Western New York, but what do you think? Can Portland do this?
I mean, I think Portland can do it. I think the big issue that I have, I think the biggest problem for the Flash could be this, and they haven't shown points of breaking that back line, but watching that Sky Blue game last week, I think we can all agree was a one-sided game. I mean, it could have and maybe should have been a 3-4-0 result, but the Flash left a minute. I mean, one Lisa DeVanna breakaway and that game was tied, and Carly iced it in that stoppage time goal. But you're going to leave this one in it with Sinclair, with probably Morgan at the late in the match poaching. That could be the slip. Flash are used to winning those 1-0 games, but Portland has sort of shown this ability to just kind of hang in a game, and tie it up. So
I'll say this though: the Flash had that point about the 80th minute, maybe, where they literally passed the ball around right out here for about 90 seconds straight. I think every player on the field besides France touched the ball. So
yeah,
they're the one team I've seen that can actually put a game away. Kansas City has this great build-up. Maybe they can take some lessons from the Flash and how to hold on to the lead. So if they're in the lead late, you're right, Sinclair and Morgan can score, but if the Flash can play that possession game, the real possession game, literally keep the Thorns away from touching the ball, that could make it harder, and then Morgan and Sinclair are running more, and then that makes it harder for them to tie it up.